Adding your layout to Big Bear is easy peasy. First, let's clear the sample layout so we are working with a clean canvas. We go to the Editor tab. Note how the layout is presented in spreadsheet format on this page. Press the Clear button to delete the track. The track is now gone, but the background remains. The background picture and color scheme are managed from the Preferences tab. Set the background to just plain. And while we're at it, we will set the background and track color. The track color will only take effect after we restart or refresh the screen. Also worth pointing out that the screen settings apply separately to each device or browser. You can position the layout and set different background pictures on each separate screen. Return to the main track diagram window. Now we have a nice and clean canvas. The same screen is used for operating and designing your layout. Simply change between the modes using the Run a Design switch in the control panel. I am going to lock the layout as well, to stop it moving around too much. This is really handy on very large layouts, where you could zoom in, scroll to, then lock on to position a section of the layout. For this video, however, we will restrict ourselves to a simple loop and siding. The track is formed as a grid. The grid pattern is shown, and you can zoom in and zoom out to make the grid cells large or small. The track elements are created using scalable graphics, so will look good no matter what size. A set of available track elements are provided in the palette. Simply find an item you want to place and drag it to the cell where you want it to be. We'll start off by placing the top straight section of the loop. After you have placed a track item on the canvas, if you double-click or double-tap, you can place the same item over and over again. This makes it quick and easy to create long straight sections of track. Create the corners from the selection of curves. See how each track item is presented in all the different orientations that you will need. Oops! I've accidentally placed the wrong piece. Not a problem. Just drag it to the recycling area and pull a correct item. Bear with me while I add more sections. To add the turnout for the siding, select the movable track section in the palette, then drag an appropriate item into position. The last section of the loop is now in place. Just need to create the siding, and while doing so, it will be nice to add a station platform. Choose from a selection of platform elements. Made a mistake. The platform is on the wrong side. That looks better. That's the track complete. However, the platform needs a little work, and why not add one to the main loop, as well? The loop needs a couple of signals. First, make room for it. Then choose from a selection in the palette. For this section, we'll choose an inline light signal. At the top, let's add a red semaphore signal. This one is not in line with the track, and is similar to the signals on the previous version of Big Bear. As Columbo would say, one last thing, we'll add a small tunnel section for good measure. Change the mode back to run. The track is still red, we need to restart Big Bear to bring the new color into play. The track is now black, and the background is light blue. I will press F11 to make the application full screen. Change the state of the signals by clicking them with the mouse pointer, or on touch screens, by tapping them with your finger. Before this can control an actual layout, we need to assign the DCC accessory addresses to the turnout and the signals. Back in design mode, clicking on a track item will raise a pop-up in which you can set the appropriate DCC accessory address. Note the reverse switch. Set this if you find that your accessory is running opposite to the track image. Back to run mode again, and that is our simple layout complete. We'll zoom in to fill the available space, and it's ready to use. Check out our video on how to add your very own background images.
When you first install the Big Bear software, you will find 4 sample trains and locomotives in the throttle list. We'll show you now how you can delete them and replace them with your own. First, click on the Rolling Stock tab. The 4 sample trains are listed as you see here. Click on each row to see the full details and settings for each locomotive or train. If you own a lot of locomotives, this list could be very long. To help, you can filter the list using the search box at the top. See. By typing EMU, only electrical multiple units will be shown. You can also group items, just drag one of the headers to the box shown. See how we are grouping by the type, diesel and electric. Use the mouse menu to ungroup and return the list back to normal. Let's now delete the samples, one by one. Use the bin icon, shown at the end of each row. If we now return to the throttle, all the locos are gone for good, and, with nothing to display, the drop-down is disabled. Time to add a new locomotive. How about a nice, green, British, Class 31? Click the plus button to create a new row. Type a name, then press Enter to create the new entry. Click the row to display a blank set of details. Enter a description, a type, and we'll select a nice, dark, green color. I will add an image of a Class 31. Simply select a suitable picture from your computer, then drag it into the box shown here. To operate the locomotive, Big Bear needs the DCC address. Remember, to set the slider switch, if it has been configured as a long address. Set the speed values. The maximum speed of a Class 31 is 80 miles per hour. Set the speed mode as 128 steps. And the speed limiter to 50%. The speed limiter sets the maximum speed your locomotive will attain when the throttle is at maximum. For example, with the speed mode set to 128, and the speed limiter at 50%, when the throttle is at full, and the train is running at 80 miles per hour, the DCC speed value will be at 64. 50% of 128. Finally, let's add some functions. This model has front and rear lights, and cab lights. Press plus in the Functions panel. Enter the function button, label. An optional description. We set this as a large toggle, on-off, button. And the same for the cab lights. But not a large button in this case. Back to the track diagram. And here is the result. See the picture, and that the color has been set to green. The maximum speed on the Speedo is 80 miles per hour. And when the slider is at max, and the train at full speed, the DCC speed setting is limited to 64. Right, okay, so that is how you add and delete a locomotive. What about modifying an existing entry?
To modify our Class 31, all we do is go back into the Rolling Stock tab, then click the row to reveal the settings. I have decided to add the TOPS code to the name. From the photo, I see it is 31190. I'll edit the name and add the number. I didn't like the original green. Let's make it a bit lighter. Finally, my loco ran a bit slow. We'll boost the speed limiter a bit. Back to the Speedo, and you can see the changes. Adding locos is easy. And remember, with Big Bear XP, you can enter as many locomotives and trains as you wish.